If you're tracking the defense technology sector or, if you're just looking for a masterclass in how a company can transform itself, you really need to look at the stock formerly known as Ondas Holdings. And I stress formally, we're diving into a massive 13% surge in the stock, ONDS, and this wasn't driven by some slow, gradual improvement.
No, not at all.
The sources we've analyzed are calling this a fundamental, almost overnight shift in the company's entire story. It feels like a real transition from promise to proof.
That word, transformation, is absolutely key here. What's so fascinating is that the market's reaction, it isn't just about one good quarter. It's about a total recalibration of how investors should even view this company.
Okay, so what's our mission today?
It's straightforward. We're going to extract the three massive catalysts that drove this surge. We'll analyze why these specific changes signaled such a permanent shift and, figure out what this all means for their future in the high-stakes world of defense and autonomous drones.
Let's do it. Let's unpack this and get right to the roadmap. The incredible move in the stock all came down to three distinct but very connected pieces of news that all dropped at once.
All at the same time, yeah.
So for this deep dive, we're hitting the three core elements. First, the crucial corporate rebranding. Second, the strategic headquarters move. And third, the financial engine behind it all. The immediate $10 million in new purchase orders. These three things together just built the perfect bull case.
Exactly. And to really get the depth of this, we have to start with the non-financial changes. Because in this world, in specialized tech, perception can drive valuation just as much as the balance sheet does.
I find this part so illuminating because, normally we're just looking for hard numbers, but here we have a name change and a location change, and our sources say these are absolutely massive drivers. So let's start with the identity.
Okay.
Why does dropping the word holdings and adding Inc. suddenly de-risk the whole company and get everyone so excited?
It matters so much because of the signal it sends about operational efficiency. Historically, that holding structure, it implies complexity.
Right.
It suggests the company is basically a collection of different, maybe even disconnected assets or subsidiaries. And that often leads to what analysts call a holding company discount.
So investors just can't figure out how to value the sum of its parts, which means the stock probably trades lower than it should just because it doesn't look streamlined.
Precisely. So the announcement, changing from Ondas Holdings to Ondas Inc., starting in Q1 2026, it's a strategic narrative choice. It's them telling the market, we are done aggregating assets, we are now operating.
Oh, okay.
It shifts the perception away from a speculative portfolio to one single cohesive entity. The course material calls it a fully integrated global defense operating platform.
I see.
This move basically strips away that inefficiency discount and makes the company way easier for big institutional investors to understand and, well, to fund.
So the name change de-risks the structure, and that conceptual shift is then immediately backed up by a physical strategic move. They've moved their headquarters to West Palm Beach, Florida. Now, for any tech company, moving HQ sounds expensive, maybe disruptive. Does the analysis mention the short-term cost, or is the strategic benefit just that big?
The report does acknowledge the cost, but it really emphasizes that the long-term strategic gain is just overwhelming. This isn't just a lifestyle choice, though I'm sure the weather doesn't hurt.
Right.
Our sources frame this as textbook strategic positioning. Florida, and specifically West Palm Beach, is just booming as a defense tech hub. By moving there, Ondas is intentionally planting itself right next to, and I'm quoting here, the big money and big defense contractors.
So it's about being close to the capital and the customers.
Absolutely. The move does two critical things. First, it puts them in the same neighborhood as massive institutional capital private equity, VCs who are all looking to pour money into U.S. defense tech. And second, it gives them immediate proximity to their biggest clients, military commands, prime defense contractors. It's about making sure you are literally at the table when the big spending decisions are being made. It gives them instant legitimacy in that ecosystem.
That's a powerful 1-2 punch, new narrative, then strategic physical positioning. But, as we always say, the proof is in the contracts. And that leads us right to the meat of this deep dive, the confirmed revenue that validates this whole strategy.
This is it. This is the data point that turns all those strategic changes from just aspirations into verified execution. The market isn't buying a story anymore, it's buying a contract book.
Let's get into the specifics of that contract book then. We're talking about a confirmed $10 million in new purchase orders. This is real money, and the nature of these orders ties directly into the most urgent global security threats right now. What exactly is this $10 million for?
So the orders are focused on these really critical high-margin areas. They're centered on two key products. First, you have counter-UAS systems that specialize anti-drone tech.
Which is in huge demand.
Huge demand, globally, to protect critical infrastructure. Think power grids, refineries, government buildings.
And why is that demand peaking right now?
I mean, just look at the geopolitical reality. We're seeing constant proof that low-cost, asymmetrical drone warfare is incredibly effective. So every nation, every major company, they're scrambling to protect against swarm attacks and surveillance.
Okay, and the second area?
The second area is integrated autonomous drones for government security. And these aren't just, off-the-shelf camera drones. These are specialized, high-reliability systems built to work seamlessly inside sophisticated government security networks. We are talking about mission-critical tech.
And if we connect this back to their transformation, this revenue is the direct result of their acquisition strategy, right? They spent years and a lot of capital buying companies like Roboteam and Centrix.
Exactly.
This $10 million proves that wasn't just speculation.
Precisely. The report really stresses that this revenue stream is the payoff. It's the proof of successful integration. For example, they acquired Roboteam. They specialize in unmanned ground vehicles, robotics.
Well, hardware.
The hardware, yes. And then they acquired Centrix, which provides that critical cyber layer, the command and control, the secure networking.
So Roboteam provided the muscle, Centrix provided the brain, and Ondas' platform brought them together to win this big contract.
That's the elegant synthesis of it all. This $10 million contract is the validation that they successfully integrated those separate technologies to create the operating platform they promised. It confirms the acquired assets are now, printing cash via major government contracts. For an investor, that is the ultimate validation of an M&A strategy.
And successful execution leads to raising future expectations. They didn't just announce orders, they raised their long-term guidance in a big way. They've now raised their 2026 revenue guidance to $110 million.
That $110 million figure is the engine for the whole future bull case. And you have to put it in context. The report implies this is an exponential leap, a potential 5-fold increase from their previous run rate.
Wow.
For a company that was seen as pretty speculative, hitting that kind of revenue target transforms their entire financial profile into a high-growth tech company.
But that kind of growth, projecting a 5x increase, that isn't just exciting, it's also incredibly demanding. It requires perfect execution.
It does, absolutely. But the market is rewarding the confidence they're showing by even setting that target. To get there, they have to scale up manufacturing, integrate new orders, keep winning bids. The fact that they're putting that number out there now, right after this $10 million win, it suggests management sees a lot more contracts coming down the pipeline.
So the speculation is over.
This is the moment where the speculation ends and the realization of their commercial potential really begins.
And the stock chart immediately reflected that. Let's shift our focus and look at how this powerful combo of narrative and numbers played out on the chart on January 2nd.
The technical reaction was just explosive, which is what you'd expect with this kind of potent, mixed confirmed revenue, strategic moves, and strong guidance.
It was a textbook high-volume breakout. ONDS opened the day at $10.14, but immediately saw this aggressive, sustained buying that just ripped it straight up to a high of $11.06.
And crucially, where it closed.
Exactly. It closed strong at $11.02. That close, plus the huge volume, secured that incredible 13% gain in just one session.
And from a purely technical view, that closing price is everything. They closed above $10. And that number isn't just arbitrary. It's a massive psychological resistance level.
Okay, for the listener who might not be deep into technical analysis, can you break down what psychological resistance means here?
Certainly. $10 is a huge benchmark. It's a line in the sand for a lot of traders and algorithms. When a stock just can't seem to stay above $10, it reinforces the idea that sellers are in control. So, closing convincingly above that level, especially on high volume tied to big news, it's the market collectively saying, okay, the value of this company has fundamentally shifted past that old ceiling. It validates the news for the entire technical trading community.
So what does that powerful move set up for the near term? Looking beyond $11.02, what's the outlook based on the source materials analysis?
Well, the combination of factors suggests the momentum could really be sustained, maybe even accelerate. First, the source notes that the resistance levels right above $11.02 are looking thin.
Meaning there are fewer sellers lined up waiting to dump their shares.
Exactly. The path of least resistance is up. And this is amplified by the stock's structure. The analysis highlights a relatively small float combined with high short interest.
Let's quickly define those terms for clarity. What is the float, and what does short interest mean?
So the float is the number of shares actually available for the public to trade. If the float isn't massive, any big surge in buying has a much bigger impact on the price. There just aren't enough shares to meet the sudden demand.
Yep.
And short interest means a lot of investors have bet against the stock. They've borrowed shares and sold them, hoping the price will fall. When good news like this hits, Those short sellers are forced to buy the stock back to cut their losses.
And that forced buying is what can create a squeeze.
That's what creates the potential to squeeze the bears hard, as the report puts it.
And this is where it gets really interesting for anyone tracking this sector. When you distill everything, the narrative, the positioning, the revenue, the chart, the sources lay out this really compelling three-part bull case. One, they're operating right in the middle of a defense supercycle. Two, they've committed to a high-growth path with that $110 million target. And three, they've got a bullish breakout chart that technical traders are now flocking to.
And we should probably define that supercycle briefly. It isn't just a strong market. It's a sustained multi-year spike in global military spending. It's driven by, the current geopolitical instability in Europe and the Middle East, and this rapid tech shift toward autonomous systems, cyber, and advanced drones.
And Ondas is right in the sweet spot.
Perfectly positioned. They've executed on the very technology that the market is now desperate to acquire.
So the news has fundamentally shifted this company from a high-risk R&D idea to a high-momentum growth story. The big question now is just that momentum.
Right. If the stock can hold this crucial $11 level, which is the big test after a sharp move, the technical analysis in the report suggests the next run could target $12.50 or even $15. That's as the market starts to fully price in those massive 2026 revenue numbers and the potential for that short squeeze.
So what does this all mean for you, the listener? We've walked through the identity shift, the strategic move to the U.S. defense capital, the revenue confirmation, and the explosive market reaction. The key narrative here is unmistakable. Ondas is transforming itself from what was a speculative R&D company into a validated, execution-focused defense player. The government orders are here, and they're flowing.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, the key takeaway is the validation of their whole integrated approach. In today's climate, successfully acquiring and integrating specialized defense tech, especially counter-UAS and autonomous systems, that is what separates the winners from the losers.
It's one thing to have a plan on a PowerPoint.
It's one thing to acquire talent and tech, exactly. It's another thing entirely to immediately translate that into multi-million-dollar contracts, proving your integrated platform actually works in the field. That execution is what the market is rewarding with this surge.
That's the perfect summation. They have moved from promise to large-scale delivery in one of the most demanding and fastest-growing sectors in the world. And that brings us to the final provocative thought that the source material leaves us with, something for you to consider about the long-term potential here.
The question is this. Considering their strategic positioning, their successful M&A integration proven by these contracts, and the clear high-growth path set by these government orders.
Do you think ONDS is positioning itself to become the next Palantir of drones, something to mull over as you watch this defense supercycle continue to unfold?